You're listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in and glad to have you along for the ride, setting up for a massive weekend on campus for LSU athletics. The baseball Tigers welcome in Omaha for the second three-game set of the season. Then Saturday evening, the LSU men's basketball team, riding two straight victories, welcomes in the number 2 ranked Florida Gators. We'll give you some thoughts on each of those matchups here on LSU Daily. Be sure to subscribe, share, follow on social media. Twitter X at Musso Matthew, Instagram Matthew Musso 1. You can find me on Facebook as well. All of that is greatly, greatly appreciated. Let's go ahead and dive right in. We'll start with baseball, and we will start with a schedule change. Rain heavily in the forecast for Sunday. 100% chance of rain. So Sunday's game has now been moved to Saturday. They will play a doubleheader. Game number 1, or I should say game number 2 of the series, game number 1 of the day starting at noon. Game number 3 wrapping up the day starting at 5 p.m. Central. Of course, fans will need your Game 7 tickets for that third game on Saturday, your Game 6 tickets for the first game on Saturday. Let's look at the series a little bit here. First meeting all time between LSU and Omaha. The Mavericks are out of the Summit League a season ago, 18-32-1. But the caveat is, in their conference, 16-13-1. That was good enough to secure them the number 1 seed in the Summit League tournament. They did not win that tournament. However, Oral Roberts did. But when you look forward to this season, the Mavericks are projected to finish third in the Summit. So I look at this team. They present a bit of a different challenge for LSU that I'll get into momentarily. One that LSU hasn't seen yet this season that I think is going to be good for them early in the regular season. The Mavericks come into this weekend 1-3. They have spent the entirety of their season so far in Southeast Louisiana. Opened up the season with 3 games against Tulane at Turchin. They were swept in that series. Come back to one of those games momentarily as well. Then they traveled over to Thibodaux to face the Nichols Colonels. They downed the Colonels 5-2 on Tuesday night in a game that was called in the top of the 9th inning due to rain. Now they wrap up their stay in Southeast Louisiana with the trip up to Baton Rouge for 3 games against your Fighting Tigers of LSU. When you look at Omaha statistically so far on the season, they are hitting .288 as a club. They have knocked 3 home runs, scored 26 runs in those 4 games, but have also punched out 41 times so far in 139 at-bats. Over on the mound for Omaha, it is an ERA that is north of 9 so far early on the year, and walks have been a big issue. 32 innings pitched, 25 walks to 27 strikeouts. The opponent is hitting .305 off of Omaha. Starting pitching matchups, LSU running back the same rotation from a week ago. It'll be sophomore lefty Cade Anderson to go game 1, junior righty Anthony Ianson to go game 2, and sophomore righty Chase Shores to go game number 3. When you look at Omaha, they'll send out junior righty Braden Curtis on Friday. No decisions, an ERA north of 11, 4 innings, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Good size for the right-handed pitcher there in Curtis. Stuff not going to overpower you, but it should be a little better than what you've seen so far this season. That's kind of going to be a trend here with their rotation and in general their pitching staff as a whole. Curtis pitched mainly out of their bullpen a year ago, but now has moved into the starting rotation. On Saturday, game number 1 on Saturday, senior righty Ben Weber, he's a transfer, started his career at Kansas State, pitched well as a freshman, actually over there in Manhattan, then transferred to a junior college and now has found his way to Omaha. He is 0-1 on the year with an ERA of 12, even just 3 innings in his first start, 2 walks, 2 punch-outs. Then on game number 3, junior righty C.J. Hood started his career at the University of Nebraska, then transferred to Long Beach State, and now is at Omaha. He is also 0-1 on the year, an ERA of 9, 2 innings pitched, 4 walks to 2 strikeouts. So again, you see the walks there becoming a bit of a problem early in the season for Omaha. That's what you're looking at on the mound. When I talk a different challenge that Omaha presents to LSU that I think is going to be good for them here week 2, Omaha brings in a lineup that can hit the baseball. Said we'd go back to one of those games against Tulane, the first one, opening day. Omaha pounded out 10 runs on 17 hits. They came back, took a lead, came back again, tied the game. Ultimately, Tulane just outlasted them. But they were relentless. And it's a veteran lineup as well. It's a lineup that returns Cardell Dick, the catcher. He finished second on the team last season in RBI. Also was near the top in doubles. It returns not 1, not 2, but 3 second-team All-Summit League honorees in Tyler Bishop, who hit over 300, Henry Zapay, who hit over 300, and by the way, is hitting over 500 early in this season, and Noah Grice, who hit just below 250 a season ago. A guy like Bishop was the leader in RBI, so you return your leader in RBI and your number 2 guy in RBI from a year ago, and that's just the veterans. That doesn't count what they've added. They added Sam Beck, who started his season at BYU, who started his career at BYU and has been hitting leadoff for this team. So veterans and a guy with Power 4 experience. This certainly seems like a lineup that should challenge LSU's arms a little bit more. Now, what isn't great for them is the strikeouts. We told you right there, 41 punch-outs and over 130 at-bats so far. They punch out a lot, and we've seen the stuff on LSU staff. They should have plenty of success with the swing and miss here this weekend against Omaha. But, again, different from Fort Wayne, where you saw so many new faces in that lineup for them, all the newcomers that they had. This team from Omaha at least has 17 returners, again, from a team that had the number 1 seed in the Summit League tournament a year ago. The other part of this that I look at and go, okay, that could present a different challenge for LSU, like kind of a step up, is what we just talked about on the mound and kind of what we even talked about there with Sam Beck. This is a team that has guys on it with Power 4 experience. It's most prevalent on the mound with a guy like Ben Weber, who we talked about, starting his career at Kansas State, going to JUCO the last 2 years, and posted a ERA sub 2.5 over the course of 2 seasons in junior college before finding his way back to Division I ball. But a guy who starts his career at Kansas State, you expect him to have pretty good stuff. Now, does he have control of that stuff, command, all of those things? Well, it hasn't looked like it through his first start, but you can expect to see better stuff from that guy. Same thing with C.J. Hood. Starts his career at Nebraska, 2 years actually, at Nebraska, and then transferred to Long Beach State, which historically is a great baseball program. You should expect better stuff from a guy like that than what you saw in Fort Wayne and in Southern. You could see some low 90s here. I'm not going to tell you these guys are going to come out throwing 96, 97 consistently, but it could look a little bit more like you're used to. And I'm curious to see how LSU's lineup responds to that. Is it, okay, this is more what we're used to, we're still going to pound the baseball, or do they take a little bit of a step back? I'll come back to the lineup because there's one more guy on the mound, 2 more guys on the mound to really focus in on. Luke Gaynor was the closer a season ago for Omaha. He had a ERA of 3.8 on the season, but in conference play it was sub 2.5. Ended up with 5 saves. The opponent hit just 183 off of Gaynor a season ago. Had almost 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. He was very, very good. And because of that, he earned a preseason spot on the Collegiate Baseball Writers Association Stopper of the Year. Now, he's off to a rough start so far here in 2025. I will tell you that. An ERA north of 10, but the problem for him has been walks. The opponent's hitting just 200 off of him, but in 2 2/3, he's walked 6. If he's in the zone, he's really tough. So again, tick up and stuff there, right, that you're going to see. Carter Mick has been their best reliever. He's a true freshman lefty. 2 appearances, 3 shutout, and the opponent's hitting just 111. Should note Luke Gaynor, also a left-handed pitcher. So their top 2 relievers are lefties. I said I would go back to the LSU lineup, and I want to let you hear from Jay Johnson here as well, because we've talked so much about the dominance on the mound, and rightfully so. They've smothered the strike zone. They've walked just 3 guys all season long so far in 4 games, struck out over 50. Like, they've been awesome. But the lineup hadn't been too shabby either. I mean, this is a team at LSU that has scored double digits in 3 out of their first 4 games. And it starts at the top. And I've said plenty that I think they're pretty set with what they have at the top of the lineup. And Jay Johnson, when he met with the media on Thursday, also spoke about what he likes about those top 3 so far through the first 4.
I always feel like applying pressure right from the start of the game is important. Like, I've always liked a guy that can hit an extra base hit in the leadoff spot. Chris can do that. He's got to be one of the fastest players in the country, so that immediately applies pressure. The quality of bats that we've seen from Derek since the first pitch of the fall, that's going to be a fight, for the pitcher right off the bat. And then, so you have that, and then you have Jared sitting there, with obviously his ability to hit and to hit with power. So I think it makes the first inning difficult, and that's a good thing. I think we scored in the first inning 3 of the 4 games so far.
Correct. You have scored in the first inning 3 out of 4. The top of the lineup is perfect. I mean, when we gave out our projected lineup, that's the order we had it in. Because, I mean, once you got to look at it and you just saw how it could function, it makes all the sense in the world. And it does. It starts with Stanfield and Curiel. They provide... And that's why it's so important to have somebody behind Jared Jones, because those guys are going to be on base a lot, and they have been so far. I mean, just looking at through 4 games, Stanfield has an on base of 600, Curiel has an on base of 588. That is immediate pressure, and it doesn't stop once they get on base. Both of them have very, very good speed. And then, as he said, you have Jared Jones right behind them, and he's Jared Jones. But that's where we can get into the deeper conversation of Bear. Because what he's done so far this season has just been a continuation of the improvement you've seen so far at the plate from him. I mean, we talked about it a season ago. Strikeouts were still high, but the walks were up. And now when you look at Jared Jones this season, through 4 games, 5 walks, and he still has not punched out yet. That's an incredible pace for him moving forward. And Jay Johnson yesterday talked about the plate discipline for Jared Jones.
I think he's doing great. We have a really good idea of what we're trying to get out of everything with him. And, I've mentioned this before, I really enjoy coaching him. And, we'll have had 3 years together by the time he gets drafted and is gone this year. And just the evolution of that has been really right on point. And he's a better hitter and player today than he's ever been. And I think it's just a solid understanding of what he's doing, why he's doing it, how he's doing it, and then the reps. And then we've, worked on some things since we've gotten back. And it all kind of blends together, whether he maybe even realizes it or not. He's getting a really good handle on it.
I love the end of that cut, whether he realizes it or not, right? Because that tells you a couple things. Number one, he's very coachable and takes the coaching and just rolls with it. And that turns into him just kind of doing it subconsciously, which is great in the game of baseball. You can't think in the game of baseball. When you start thinking, you start taking yourself out of the game. It's a mental grind. We know that. Sports in general are, but baseball specifically. Because failure is so prevalent in the game. So I love hearing those 2 things about how he feels about the top and especially Jared Jones. Again, 5 walks to no Ks through 4 games. That is easily the best start in Jared Jones' career so far at LSU, and I'm going to keep watching that intently to see if it can continue once the competition starts to ratchet up, like I do believe it will a tad bit here this weekend. I'll be very interested to get a look at those Omaha pitchers, see if the stuff really does tick up like I'm expecting it to. I like LSU to win the series, definitely 2 out of 3. We can talk about the S word once they get to that point. It's baseball. Crazier things have happened. All right, let's wrap things up here. LSU men's hoops, they welcome in the number 2 Florida Gators on Saturday evening at the PMAC. LSU winners of 2 straight. It's been great to see that. Look, I'm not expecting this to go very well for LSU on Saturday, but I am curious to see how they come out. Have they built a little bit of momentum? Do they? Where's the belief level in that? Where's the confidence? Have they been able to build some of that? And will it carry over for them to be competitive on their home floor against an opponent that does outmatch you? That's going to be massive to see. The one change you've seen from LSU and why I don't expect this to go very well is the one change you've seen from LSU that has really paid dividends for them over the last 2 games is going to that 4-guard lineup. Now, at the end of the Oklahoma game, they had to play 5-guard lineup because Damian Collins was injured and fouled out, and Robert Miller had also fouled out. So you're kind of forced into that. But the 4-guard lineup has been really kind of by choice over the last few games or so, and you've really seen it pay dividends for LSU. The spacing's better, the shot selection's better because of that, all of those things. Where that becomes a problem against Florida is Florida's size and their ability on the boards. When you're going small, 4 guards, you're giving up something down low. Now, Damian Collins has been really nice for you there. Corey Chest has had moments as well, but you're only allowing for one of them on the floor. Florida averages 42 rebounds per game, but more so than that, 13.6 offensive rebounds per game. Going small is going to really limit your ability to hold Florida to just 1 shot. And that's where I really think LSU gets in trouble here, because it would stand to reason against Florida, they'll play, less of the 4-guard lineup because of what we just talked about, but your offense also hasn't functioned as well outside of that structure, running that offensive structure. So Florida presents a challenge for you that puts you just in a really tough spot. That's really just from a basketball standpoint. Other than that, I mean, they're more talented than you. They're just a better team. But the one thing that I will say is LSU consistently throughout this season, even when it was going horrible, and it's gone horrible for the majority of it, they've played hard. They've never quit. Now they've got a couple wins under their belt in a row. Them playing hard isn't going to change if they hang around and you got a good crowd in that building and it can get going. Can LSU find themselves in a situation like they were against Ole Miss with a chance to win it down the stretch? And in that case, one that you really should have won and just couldn't finish off. Can you find yourself in that position? I don't know. Crazier things have happened. I don't think it's likely, but again, crazier things have happened. So it definitely will be worth watching to see how they come out. 5 p.m., SEC Network. It'll be head up against the baseball game, so you can get yourself a little double screen action there. LSU baseball closing out their series against Omaha, and LSU hoops trying to pull off an improbable upset on their home floor and make it 3 in a row. We'll see what they can do. That's going to wrap it up here today. Be sure to subscribe, share, follow me on social media, and be here next time for more on LSU Daily.